Real YouTube is talk about state of the current meta game. I normally have a little bit more of an idea of what I'm going to talk about before the video starts. This time I didn't have any, so I think that turned out surprisingly pretty well. Anyway, hello, what's going on, everybody? I'm your host, WolfGlick. Welcome back to the BonusWolfe show, and today we're going to be talking about the state of the metagame. Basically, which Pokemon are popular, which Pokemon are not popular, etc., etc. Now, before we jump into this, I do want to just take a second and thank today's video sponsored by thank the sponsor of today's video. Here's a few questions for you. Do you like raiding? What about legends? Well, boy, do I have the game for you. It's called Raid Shadow Legends, and they're today's sponsor. You've got a phone or PC, right? Well, that's all you need to download it, because Raid is completely free. Raid is something for everyone, whether you love lore, action, mastering new skills, working with a team, or defeating everyone in tournaments. I like my games to keep the action going, and this game pretty much guarantees non-stop action and huge battles. You can head to the dungeons and face off against deadly bosses, conquer its awesome campaign, scale the many floors of the Doom Tower, dive into high-stakes PvP fights against other players, jump into faction wars, and, well, you get the picture. Personally, I love the big boss fights, so I'm always in the dungeons taking on Raid's awesome bosses. Raid has even prepared something special for all new players this Christmas. Get ready to celebrate the 12 days of Raid. Download Raid Shadow Legends from the links below. Copy your player ID from in-game, and then go to 12daysofraid.plarium.com. Enter your player ID and then set out on a fun, festive adventure that lasts 12 days, running from December 19th to January 10th. Each day, experience a new chapter of this wintry story, and play a new mini-game for a chance to win some amazing in-game and real-life prizes, including holiday-themed Raid champions and even Amazon gift cards worth up to $1,000. Existing Raid players, don't think we're leaving you out. Head to 12daysofraid.plarium.com, where you can find a special holiday promo code that everyone can use for a small festive gift. Raid is also adding a new champion based off Ronda Rousey. To celebrate Ronda's arrival in Raid, use the special promo code RAIDRONDA to get a bunch of helpful stuff perfect for leveling your Ronda up so she's at the top of her game. New players can also use my link or scan the QR code right here and get a free starter pack with this cool in-game loot. You will find your rewards here in your inbox for the next 30 days only. Don't miss out. Now back to the video. Okay, so let's talk about the current state of the game. Basically, so I'm using Peakalytics here. It's not the most up to date. Like, I'm pretty sure that a lot of these statistics are like pretty outdated. Is the truth, but I still want to kind of talk about, having played a fair bit of the format, what the trends are, how things are developing, etc., etc. And I figured that this would be a good reason to kind of go through them. So let's start with Gholdengo, because Gholdengo is arguably, maybe not even arguably, but at the moment it's looking like it's the strongest new Pokemon introduced in Scarlet and Violet. Now, basically for a while there were two main sets. It doesn't say here the items, but there was the Choice Spec set and there was the Nasty Plot set. And those have kind of been the two prevalent sets, where the Choice Specs set gives you immediate offensive pressure. It's especially good with Murkrow because you can Tailwind, Terra Steel, and go for the very powerful attack Make It Rain. And you also can do other moves as well. The Nasty Plot set typically runs either Life Orb for still getting like offense and being even more threatening after a single Nasty Plot, or a bulky item like Leftovers or Citrus Berry or Air Balloon, and basically tries to set up a Nasty Plot and then go for the like even more damage, whereas the Choice Spec set has the ability to go for just like flat out damage right away. Now, that's still true. Those are still kind of the main prevalent sets. Terra Flying Gholdengo has picked up as a defensive Terra type. I expect another Terra type will pick up soon, because basically Garchomp has kind of gone down, and Terra Flying is especially good into ground type attackers like Garchomp, which is the main ground type Pokemon right now. Right now it feels like there's a lot more fire type attackers, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Terra Water coming out, or even Terra Dark potentially, because of Meowscarada and Hydreigon being very popular, though I guess you'd rather just do Terra Steel for that, so disregard that. But yeah, basically, yeah, like at the moment Gholdengo started running Terra Flying. That's not especially a new change, but the thing that I think is interesting is actually a Choice Scarf set has picked up. Now, I haven't used Choice Scarf Gholdengo myself at the moment, so I can't speak to how good it is on a personal level. I think that it's probably something that is stronger in closed team sheet compared to open team sheet, by which I mean, like, I think that if your opponent knows that you have Scarf, it's a little less powerful. It's especially good into like the fast and frail Pokemon like Meowscarada. But I do think that it probably has some merit even beyond that. Having Trick on a Choice Scarf set is nice. of course. And yeah, there's some other benefits as well to using Choice Scarf, mostly outspeeding some of the Pokemon that typically threaten Gholdengo, like Hydreigon, Meowscarada, Garchomp, Maushold. Well, Maushold doesn't threaten, but you know what I mean. Annihilape if they're fast, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, Choice Scarf is the main like kind of development that I've noticed here. And I guess with Gleam, you can like, especially against Hydreigon, like they're not going to Terra in front of Gholdengo a lot of the time. So like in a closed team sheet on ladder, like Scarf is definitely like more viable. I'm interested to see how it performs in an open team sheet format with the first regional coming up in exactly 1 week from today. Murkrow. So Murkrow, I feel like hasn't had that much development. It's kind of been doing what it does. Tailwind, Foul Play, and Haze are on pretty much every single set. Tailwind to provide Prankster, the only Prankster Tailwind user, like support your team speed. Haze, like just really good into Gholdengo and a bunch of other setup Pokemon in the format. Foul Play is like it, because it doesn't have the best offenses, though they are its best stat, I guess, apart from its speed. So, yeah, like that's like it's still not very high in the grand scheme of things. So you want Foul Play to get consistent damage and for stab. And then the last move kind of rotates. So Taunt is obviously up high here. We've seen some Brave Bird. It's good into Meowscarada. Quash is something that I've seen a fair bit. Those are kind of the main things I want to touch on here. At first, there was kind of a bunch of different Murkrow items. There was Sash. There was Eviolite. There was Covert Cloak. And it kind of feels like to me that things have kind of most Murkrow nowadays are Eviolite. That's kind of the by far and away the main Murkrow item. And then for the EVs, like I feel like EV spreads are just smarter on Murkrow now. Like I think that most people are either EVing to live +2 Dondozo Wave Crash. I'm pretty sure you can live that, or Life Orb, Armor Rouge, Armor Cannon. Or maybe they're EVing for different things, or maybe like Hydreigon, stuff like that. Yeah. Garchomp. So Garchomp is a good mon. It has actually to me, it feels like it's a bit less popular now than it was like when it doesn't feel like it's at 27% anymore in terms of usage, but it's still a good Pokemon. Earthquake, Protect, Dragon Claw, Rock Slide. I would say that it feels like nowadays most Garchomp sets have 3 of these 4 attacks. They don't have all of them, but they have 3 of them. Earthquake is on almost all of them, and if they don't have a choice item, then Protect is also on most of them. Then most sets will pick either Dragon Claw or Rock Slide, and then they'll go for a different move. So Swords Dance is an option. Stomping Tantrum is an option as well. I actually used a team in a random tournament yesterday that had Stomping Tantrum, Earthquake, Dragon Claw, Protect. Swords Dance is of course always very good. It's like probably I would probably put Swords Dance up here in terms of at least how often it feels like you're running into it. And then on top of that, there's been some other developments as well. So Terra Fire has picked up. Just in general, it feels like it's become more popular. We at first saw it on Sylveon because of the pairing of Fairy and Fire. We saw kind of the reverse on Skeleturge, pairing of Fairy and Fire offensively. But it's picking up on Dragons as well because it resists Ice and it resists Fairy. And it's picking up on Hydreigon, which we'll talk about in a second. In part because Hydreigon has access to Life Orb, Heat Wave, so it's able to kind of counter like and really threaten the Steel and to a certain degree the Fairy types that are so good into Dragon type attacks. Garchomp, however, is also seeing some play with Terra Fire and even with Terra Blast. Amoonguss, we'll talk about in a second as well. Amoonguss is also very popular. And having a way to hit Amoonguss for super effective damage is a big deal. So Terra Fire Garchomp is kind of the main thing I want to touch on. In terms of the items, it's pretty flexible. What I will say is that at first it felt like most Garchomp were running the I should see Fire on here. Yeah, it's definitely higher than this now. At first, most Garchomp were running the Clear Amulet item because of Intimidate, but the thing is that Intimidate is actually not very popular right now at all because there's so much counterplay to it. I don't know what my hair is doing. I apologize. I tried to fix it by putting gunk in it, but it just made it worse. Or a different kind of bad. I don't know. Anyway, most Garchomp were running the Clear Amulet item. That has kind of fallen off. Like at the moment, I feel like some Garchomp still run Clear Amulet as insurance, but Life Orb, Lumberry, Choice Band, and maybe a Type Resist Berry. I don't think I've seen any Type Resist Berry, but it'll show up at some point for sure. Have all become more popular. So yeah, that's kind of the state of Garchomp. Let's talk about Hydreigon. So Hydreigon has kind of 2 main developments. The first is that people are leaning into Terra types. So when I made my video, I said that I liked Poison for Hydreigon because it's an amazing defensive type. Steel and Fire are both more popular. This is accurate. And probably actually the percentages, I don't know how accurate they are, but like the ranking, this is probably more accurate. And what people have been doing is they've actually been using their Terra types both defensively and offensively. So for Hydreigon at first, it kind of felt like Terra type was only used defensively. Now people are using it for both defense and offense. And what I mean by that is that a lot of Hydreigon, not all of them, are running a stab move of their Terra type because Hydreigon is such a wide move pool. It can run moves like, well, specifically Flash Cannon and Heat Wave. And these moves are already powerful. They're good coverage. They hit the Fairy type Pokemon that Hydreigon normally struggles with. And they have some other benefits as well in terms of the Pokemon that they hit. But they become even further when you are terrestrialized. So whether you terrestrialize for defense, it gives you the option of terrestrializing for defense or for offense, and sometimes for both. So it's very, very powerful. Yeah. So the thing is that I think Hydreigon, like, it kind of has 4 move slot syndrome. I feel like there's been a lot less Tailwind Hydreigon. At first, like, Tailwind was somewhat popular when the format first started. Now it feels like Hydreigon has realized that it can't really afford to run Tailwind, or like, I don't know, it can, but like it's just difficult. Like, it already has 4 attacking moves it wants to run, and Dark Pulse, Draco Meteor, Heat Wave, Flash Cannon. Not even counting more niche things like Snarl, Terra Blast, or Earth Power. Though I guess with Steel or Fire you wouldn't need to run Terra Blast, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, and so it already has, and trying to fit Tailwind or the other set that we'll talk about in a second onto that is difficult. I actually don't see the set that has picked up immensely in popularity on here, but it is Focus Energy. So Focus Energy Hydreigon has picked up in a really big way, in large part because if you run Scope Lens and the move Focus Energy, you raise your Scope Lens raises your critical hit rate by 1 stage. So think about your crit rate is normally +0. Scope Lens takes it to +1. At +1 stage of increased critical hit rate, 1 in 8 attacks will crit. That's instead of the 1 in 24 that we currently have, or 23, I forget. It's like 4%. If you get 2 stages of increased crit rate, like then you get to 50% of all your moves will crit, and if you get to +3, you get to the 100% of your moves will critical hit. So Focus Energy, the move, gives you +2 stages of increased crit, and Scope Lens gives you +1 for a total of +3. So if Scope Lens Hydreigon uses Focus Energy, it is guaranteed to critical hit, and that is relevant for a couple reasons. So critical hits obviously do 50% more damage, so you can think of this in a way like +1 to Hydreigon's special attack stat, but it's significantly stronger than that, because the other effect that critical hits have is they ignore a lot of negative multipliers that make your moves weaker. So they ignore your own special attack drops, so this would already be enough to justify using it probably, which is that Hydreigon, after a Focus Energy, Draco Meteor is basically, rather than getting 50% weaker every time, it's always 50% stronger than base, by which I mean Draco Meteor drops your special attack by 2, and critical hits ignore that special attack drop. So if you critical hit your Draco Meteor, you ignore your special attack drop. So with guaranteed crit, Hydreigon is basically no drawback Draco Meteor. That's already pretty good, but it's not the main reason people started looking into this. The real reason is because of Dondozo. So Dondozo raises all of its stats by 2 when Tatsugiri hops inside of its mouth. So if you have, like, I don't know, like Maushold Hydreigon or Amoonguss Hydreigon, you're able to set up Focus Energy. You can guaranteed critical hit and basically just ignore all of Dondozo's special defense boosts and pick up a 1-hit KO unless they're running Terra Steel or a ton of special defense. So it's an incredibly powerful setup, and it's like very good. It's another way. A lot of the metagame revolves around, do you not automatically lose to Dondozo? And this is another tool that players can use to counter it. So I think it's a really cool adaptation. We'll have to see if it sticks around in the long run, but I think it's honestly super cool. I'm happy that it's here. Amoonguss, not too much to report, but this is inaccurate. Almost all Amoonguss are running Spore, Rage Powder, Pollen Puff, and then Clear Smog is the most common 4th. Protect is the 5th, and then nothing else is really relevant. Terra Water Amoonguss was the first choice that people identified. It's very good defensively. It resists fire. It resists ice, both of which Amoonguss is weak to. It's not weak to any of the other types, and it's only weak to grass and electric, both of which Amoonguss resists in its base form, with grass being more relevant and double resisted. Both grass and poison resist it. The other thing worth noting, though, is actually that Terra Dark Amoonguss has picked up in popularity as well. And the reason for that is because, well, you're immune to Psychic, which isn't that relevant. It is useful into like NDD Armor stuff, but it's not that relevant otherwise. But you are also, it's a good defensive Terra type. You're only weak to what? Fighting, Bug, and Fairy. And Bug isn't that common. Fighting and Fairy are both, like Amoonguss, both resists prior to terrestrializing. And most importantly, you have an immunity to Prankster. So Dark types are immune to Prankster type attacks. And because of that, stuff like Prankster, Taunt, Murkrow, or Grimmsnarl no longer works on Amoonguss. So it's another way of protecting Amoonguss. So if players wanted to stop Amoonguss by KOing it with super effective attacks, you can Terra with either Water or Dark. But if they wanted to KO Amoonguss or stop Amoonguss from sporing your team via Taunt, or specifically Prankster Taunt, Terra Dark gives you another tool into that. So I think it's actually quite strong. I don't know if I like it more than Water, but I do think it's strong in general. Annihilape. So Annihilape is picked up pretty significantly, and what I mean by that is, what I should say is a specific set is picked up, which is Bulk Up, Protect, Drain Punch, and Rage Fist. So this is often paired with Grimmsnarl, as you can see here, and Maushold. Those are kind of the two main ones. And it uses a defensive Terra type most of the time, like fire or water. I've seen some steel as well. These are the main Terra types for Annihilape. And basically the idea with this set is after a bulk up, you become relatively bulky, especially if you have Light Screen or you have Friend Guard from Maushold, which is good. So you're boosting your offense, you're boosting your defense with bulk up. You can heal up with Drain Punch. These will often run leftovers as well. It doesn't say here, but leftovers, and then like Figgy Berry is the other one. So you have some built-in recovery with your item. Drain Punch also is able to heal you back up. And then you have Rage Fist. So basically the main kind of thing that I want to touch on here is this bulk up set picked up a couple weeks ago, so it's not super new. But there is something really interesting about it, which is that players have started pairing it with Maushold. Now, that's not the craziest thing, like that probably has been done before, but something that was identified pretty early on and is now being put into practice is that Maushold with beat up can actually take your Rage Fist from 50 base power to 250 base power in one attack. So yeah, so basically what that allows you to do is you can lead out Annihilate Maushold. And one of the main issues with this kind of bulk up Annihilate is that it takes a couple turns to set up. It takes at least one turn for bulk up, and like I don't know, like it doesn't always have the most offensive presence right away. But with Maushold Annihilate, you're able to just immediately go for side beat up plus Rage Fist. You still have all the natural bulk because these Annihilate are always trained to be very defensive. And you get the Friend Guard bulk, so you're pretty hard to take out, and you're using a 250 base power stab move, which is the equivalent of single target explosion, but with stab. So it's extraordinarily powerful. Even without investing very heavily into Annihilape's offense, you're still going to be KOing like pretty bulky Pokemon. Yeah, and so it's yeah, very, very, very powerful. So that's kind of the main development there, is that like beat up and has been picking up in popularity. People have talked about pairing Annihilape with like Terra Steel Annihilape with Population Bomb Maushold, though it is worth noting that Rage Fist caps, I believe, at 350 base power, so it's not like up to 550 base power with 10 hits, but I think it's a little too committal for a lot of people, and Terrafire people like a lot, so Annihilape can protect itself from burn, among other reasons. So yeah. Armarouge, I don't want to touch too much on here. Not many developments here. The only thing is that, like, many of you are probably aware of the Expanding Force Trick Room Armor Cannon set, but there's also a weakness policy set that's been running around for a little bit. The idea is you do weak armor weakness policy. You often like Terra into Dark type and side U-turn yourself to activate it. You can also do other weak super effective moves as well. Normally you Terra into Psychic or Dark, side U-turn, go into Indeedee and go Expanding Force. You're now +2 speed, +2 special attack, Psychic Terrain is up. Potentially you've also gone Terra Psychic, and if it's not a Dark type, then they just die. But it has some counterplay. It's definitely better when the opponent doesn't know it's coming. Meowscarada usage should definitely be higher than this. I think Meowscarada is probably in the top 5 right now. It's very, very good. It's hard to say what the developments are. Focus Sash Meowscarada seems to have become the main set. U-turn has picked up a lot in popularity because of the matchup against other Meowscarada, and because U-turn is just a good move in general. There's not like Meowscarada has a lot that it can do. I've seen some Trick Room Meowscarada, I've seen some Ban Meowscarada, but other than that, it kind of feels it still feels like people like Sash is definitely the most common set with Flower Trick, Knockoff, and Sucker Punch and Protect, but there are other sets popping up as well. So we'll have to see if there's any big developments. We know Band is strong, but I'm curious if there's anything else that you can do with Meowscarada. And I would say Overgrow is the more common set. Basically, if you have U-turn or if you run anything other than the stab moves, you will normally run Protect. Otherwise, you're probably going to run Overgrow. Is kind of how I feel about it. Grimmsnarl shouldn't be this high. Indeedee, no. Arcanine, no. Maushold is becoming stronger. Basically, the lifespan of Maushold was it came out, Population Bomb was super strong, but Ghost and Steel types were everywhere, so it kind of fell off a little bit. And now people are realizing that it can still do this it's still so threatening with Population Bomb, but they're kind of finding more ways to like tie Maushold into supporting their team. So like Faint Maushold is now a thing. Follow Me, like it was already a thing. Encore was already a thing. Beat Up, as I mentioned, pairs really well with Annihilape, so that's kind of basically Maushold is developing further, and I think it's a really good Pokemon, and it'll definitely have a lot of success this season. Sylveon is a weird one. I want to talk about Sylveon briefly because most Sylveon are running Hyper Voice, Protect, Terra Blast, and then Quick Attack or Yawn as the fourth. But basically pretty much all Sylveon were running Terra Fire. Like that was the thing. It was like you run Terra Fire because then you get like Terra Blast is good before you Terastallize, and then like Fire Fairy, we've already talked about how good it is as a pairing. Terra Water is picked up a lot. This is no longer accurate. Terra Water has actually become more of a thing because you still get the Steel resistance. You become a better defensive type. You're not weak to ground, which is pretty valuable. There's not that many electric type attacks right now, so it's kind of only grass that you have to worry about. And you beat other Terra Fire Pokemon. So you beat like, so I think the reason Terra Water has picked up is actually really funny. So here's the lifespan. Hydreigon versus Sylveon. So Hydreigon was like, man, okay, like I don't want to lose to Sylveon, so I'll go Terra Steel. And then Sylveon was like, I don't want to lose to Hydreigon, I'll go Terra Fire. And then Hydreigon was like, well, I still don't want to lose to Sylveon, so I'll go Terra Fire. And now Sylveon's like, well, I don't want to lose to Hydreigon, Terra Fire, so I'll go Terra Water. I think that's why we've ended up in this place. It's honestly really cool. It's a really cool kind of interesting development, and kind of this meta game of Terra types. I think it's really interesting and really fun to watch. So the other advantage of Terra Water Sylveon is that it also beats Terra Fire Sylveon. Of course, it's weaker to Amoonguss. It's worse against Gholdengo. It's worse against Meowscarada. Yeah, it's worse against Meowscarada. Like, of course, like if you Hyper Wisdom, then it's fine regardless. But yeah, like you don't want to be getting one shot by Flower Trick for sure. So yeah, I think it's a really cool kind of development. Other than that, Dondozo and Kingambit should both be higher. Kingambit is like really good. Assault Vest Kingambit is picked up with these moves plus Brick Break. Normally to beat other Kingambit, just because Brick Break is good for screens, because there's some screens going around with Grimmsnarl and Abomasnow. Yeah, so Life Orb Kingambit is also a thing. Oh, the real thing is that at first Kingambit, oh, well, actually, then maybe I was just wrong. I thought that I saw like water, flying, and fairy. I saw water and flying Kingambit mostly, like it felt like in my games, but Terra Dark is now more and more popular because you are no longer weak to fire, you're no longer weak to ground, and you get a power boost, and you are still weak to fighting, but fighting is like between fire, ground, and fighting, it's the least common. And you still turn it into a 2x resistance, and Kingambit is incredibly bulky, or 2x weakness, excuse me. So Kingambit's incredibly bulky, so you basically are able to use it kind of like we were saying with Hydreigon, both offensively and defensively, because Kingambit is already very strong. If you terrestrialize it, it becomes even stronger, especially with Sucker Punch. Like it's the strongest relevant Sucker Punch user, which is, it might be the strongest Sucker Punch user period, which is really valuable. And if you can boost that further, like it just becomes even more threatening. So yeah, Terra Dark Kingambit is kind of feeling like the best one right now, especially because one of the weaknesses of Dark is that it's weak to Fairy, but Kingambit has such a good matchup against Fairy type Pokemon in general. Yeah, so but yeah, Kingambit has a lot of room to experiment with its item. Safety Goggles I've seen, Life Orb I've seen, Assault Vest I've seen. Those feel like the main ones, but Citrus Berry I'm sure could be good. Black Glasses is something I've seen as well. It's also a really solid one to even further, like, basically boost both your offense without not the cost of your defense. So yeah, Dondozo's in a weird spot. It feels like Dondozo is evolving super quickly. This is super outdated. There's some weird Dondozo sets going around. So Terra Ghost Curse is a thing where you use you terrestrialize into ghosts, change the effect of Curse, and then use it to beat opposing Dondozo. A lot of Dondozo dialogue revolves around the mirror. Yeah. And so Terra Ghost Curse is a thing. Basically, the meta was like Terra Water, Terra Dragon, Terra Grass. What even happened? Like, it was like Terra Dragon and Terra Grass at first. Terra Grass is immune to Spore. Terra Dragon is offense and defense. Terra Steel to block Clear Smog. Terra Flying to beat Terra Grass. Terra Ghost to Curse. There's more though. So in terms of the moves, there's even more experimentation. Yawn, Fissured, Unaware Dondozo is being used as a counter to opposing Dondozo. Because you can, yeah, like Yawn, Fissure, Wave Crash, Protect, I think is the set. Because like you can't get rid of your Dondozo, like they can't get rid of your Dondozo quickly, and then you can just eventually Fissure will hit, and then yeah. So you can tech it on and have it like it can function as like both a Dondozo plus Tatsu mode because Wave Crash is so strong, or you can just Fissure, like use it to counter opposing Dondozo. What else? Substitute still popular. Look, a lot of these moves are outdated. Terra Blast is more popular now, especially with Terra Flying. The rest is still a thing. There's so many sets. Like there's so many sets. There's so many Terras. I can't talk about all of them. It feels like a new set is discovered every day. So it'll be really interesting to see which Dondozo do well at San Diego in a week. Yeah, this is all outdated. Cerulege has kind of fallen off a little bit. I thought its usage would be higher, but there's so many dark types that are threatening it. That it's just really difficult. So it's unfortunately fallen off. It's still a good mon. It'll pick back up. Kilowattrel not super high. Tatsugiri outdated. Endurance, it's mostly Choice Scarf Tatsugiri and some Focus Sash. Fergraph, cool mon. I'm curious to see how this lands. Not really had any success yet. Dragonite's a bit lower than people would expect, I think. Assault Vest Dragonite seems to be picking up a lot, especially with Ice Spinner. Ice Spinner is a really good move, especially against a DD Armor Rouge because it removes terrain. At first it was Choice Band. Dragonite, but now it seems like Assault has kind of taken the center stage. So yeah. Oh, there's more stuff I want to talk about. Okay, there's actually a lot more that I can talk about. Choice Band Terra Dragon, Dragon Darts, Dragapult's a thing. So is Special Dragapult, but it's mostly Choice Band Dragon Darts. It's pretty good. Skeleturge have been running. Let's see if it says here. Fairy and Grass are both pretty popular. It's not. It like spiked in popularity. Now it feels like it's gone down a little bit. Curious to see where it lands. Yeah, it was like it felt like there was a period where Skeleturge was like people were really like thinking it was good, and it feels like it's fallen off a fair bit. So we'll see if it resurges. Baxcalibur is a big one. So Baxcalibur is really picking up. A lot of players have their eye on it. I've been saying this thing is very good forever, like since the game came out, and its stats are incredible. Its typing isn't amazing. It's not horrible, but it's not amazing. It's yeah, but basically like this thing is super underexplored. I've been saying it the entire time, and it's starting to get some success. So Glaive Rush is super strong. I played against like a Life Orb Terra Dragon one, and it one shot like everything. Loaded Dice Icicle Spear is a thing. Ice Shard is being used. There's some setup sets like Dragon Dance and Swords Dance that are being used, like Swords Dance, Protect, Glaive Rush, Ice Shard is a set. The Terra can be offensive or defensive. It's a great Pokemon. It will be winning events, I think, or at least doing well. And yeah, players have started actually looking into it. Gyarados is the two Maushold forms are treated differently. Gyarados is picked up. I have been saying Terra Ground Gyarados is the best, but I may have been wrong about that. Terra Flying Gyarados is being used so it can actually counter grass types, which is actually pretty relevant. So Waterfall, Dragon Dance, Protect, Terra Blast is almost always going to be the set. Life Orb is the more common item, and then Lumberry and Clear Amulet are also used as well. It's really strong. Like there's no single type that resists both water and flying, and so yeah, especially with Life Orb after a Dragon Dance, often paired with Amoonguss, this thing is super threatening. And Intimidate is still really good. It's just players are having a harder time fitting it. Abomasnow is good. I want to talk about Tauros. Where's Tauros? Talonflame is picking up. It's very good. People are kind of using a hybrid set of Talonflame. Like sometimes they run Tailwind Break. Like sometimes they don't even run Flare Blitz. Sometimes they run like Taunt and Will-O-Wisp, or Protect and Will-O-Wisp, or Protect and Taunt. They always run Tailwind. They always run Brave Bird, and then they're kind of like just finding ways of yeah, making Talonflame really like taking advantage of its really strong supporting capabilities, as in like fast Tailwind, fast Taunt, and fast Will-O-Wisp are all incredibly strong. So yeah, it's picked up. Where is Paldean Tauros? Because I want to talk about it. Some rain teams have had success with Choice Band Palafin. Breloom has picked up a little bit. A lot of them run Rock Tomb over Protect. Where's Tauros? Palmod is picking up in usage. It's definitely pretty strong, actually. Double Shock, Fake Out, Revival Blessing, Close Combat, and sometimes Mach Punch is typically the set, but it's actually like this is sometimes paired with Dondozo even to like bring back Dozo once it faints, which is really scary. But it is a little vulnerable, so yeah, we'll have to see how this kind of shakes out. There we go. Okay, Tauros is picking up, and I didn't really understand why for a while, but the thing is that Tauros is a fighting type Pokemon that is faster than Hydreigon, so it can use Close Combat. It can use, and it also has Raging Bull, which is a very strong attack because it breaks screens, and it's yeah, like it's like a good stab attack. So Close Combat, Protect, Raging Bull. This thing has Intimidate, which is good. It doesn't have bad stats. It's like again faster than Hydreigon, which is a huge deal right now. Terra Water and Terra Fire, or sorry, fighting the water form and the fire form are the two most popular. And they both resist Gholdengo, which is pretty good. They both have a lot going for them. We already know Fighting Water is a really good type because of Urshifu. Yeah, Raging Bull, Close Combat, Protect are all like super solid moves. It's fast enough to keep up with the current metagame. It has Intimidate, which is a good supporting ability. It's physically it's like decently bulky, especially leaves a little bit to be desired. It's not the strongest Pokemon, but it is seeing more usage, and I think that like it will have some success for sure. And I don't even know all of its moves super well. I actually did not know it got Wave Crash, for example. So yeah, so I'm really interested to kind of see where this kind of ends up. But it is picking up in usage. So I guess last but not least, I'll talk about Gothitelle. I think that's probably the last one worth talking about. It's being used. A Japanese team used it to great success with Gyarados, Gothitelle, Amoonguss, King Gambit. It's strong. Shadow Tag is so strong. It's hard to use, I will say. There was also another team that used, I think, Double Intimidate Gothitelle to really like just trap the opponent in and keep them stuck there. Some Gothitelle are dropping Fake Out because Gothitelle kind of does have 4 moves it wants to run. It wants to run Trick Room, Protect, normally Helping Hand, normally Psychic, normally Fake Out. There's other moves as well. You could run Taunt. Charm is a thing as well. That's to like help you get around Dondozo. But yeah, it's a good mon. It is hard to use and it can be a little passive, but on the right team it can. I love Gothitelle. I think it's really strong. And so yeah, it's definitely I think another Pokemon that players have kind of identified. So I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found it helpful. And yeah, let me know what you think. If there's anything I missed, if there's anything you think I misrepresented, just let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.